It's difficult to fathom that sex trafficking of minors is happening in Connecticut, but it's a very real problem that's affecting children right in our communities. Charlene Silva is the executive director of the Paul and Lisa program, and Kathy McAfee is a member of the Seroptimus International of Farmington Valley. And they're here to fill us in on what's going on. Welcome, ladies. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Charlene, if you could tell us a little bit about and define for us domestic minor sex trafficking.
Steve, domestic minor sex trafficking is when a child is sold for a commercial sexual exploitative situation in return for goods or money. A commercial sexual act is considered pornography, stripping, or prostitution.
And explain to us a little bit about how the whole Paul and Lisa program.
Paul and Lisa's mission, we are committed to providing prevention, early intervention, and advocacy for both women and children who've been enslaved or entrapped in the commercial sexual exploitive world.
Okay, Kathy, how do the Seroptimus work with the Paul and Lisa program? Explain to us about the Seroptimus.
Well, Steve, Seroptimus International of the Americas is an international organization of women, businesswomen, professional women, community-minded women, who are doing their efforts to improve the lives of women and girls in local communities and around the world. And we have come to learn that the problem of domestic minor sex trafficking is not just an international issue. It's happening here in the United States. It's happening in every state and every community. And so our involvement with Charlene and the Paul and Lisa program is to help educate ourselves, and we want to educate the community on this problem.
Now, who's behind the sex trafficking of minors here in Connecticut? What's going on? I mean, it's hard right here in Connecticut.
Right here in Connecticut, and who's behind it? Well, there's a couple of different answers there. We have our individuals who are our Johns, who are and our clients of these victims who are purchasing this throughout the state, and we also have the perpetrators, the traffickers, who are enslaving our children, creating the demand and the need, and benefiting tremendously from this.
But what are the effects on the kids? What's going on?
The effects are just monumentous. The psychological damage, the trauma upon trauma that these children endure is just devastating. And the physical attributes that they endure, but the psychological traumas are just immense.
And they can last a lifetime, Steve. That kind of psychological damage, diminishing of self-worth.
Now, what about the red flags, Kathleen? What do you see? What should parents be looking for? What should teachers be looking for? If this could at all be taking place?
And it's interesting, Steve, that we believe that every girl aged 11 to 17 is at risk of being trafficked. And there are certain subsegments of that population who are even more vulnerable to being recruited, being groomed. Girls that are runaways, girls that have experienced sexual abuse in their past, girls that have been traumatized. So what can, actually, Charlene, let's turn this over to you. What should parents be looking for? How do you know?
I think that one of the larger indicators that we see is when a younger girl starts dating has an older boyfriend, when they start using different language, have behavioral changes at home, they use street language, they may have new friends that maybe they're not willing to share any information with the parents, or if they are sharing that information, they have very unusual names, street names, Justice, Angel, terms like that could be utilized.
Another one that you shared with me is that the children appear to be constantly exhausted. They're just, it's beyond just sleeping in as teenagers do, but they are fatigued every moment of the day. And that sometimes also they end up coming home with items that are really beyond their budget, whether it's jewelry, electronics, clothing. You kind of wonder, where did they get this stuff? And they're not always forthcoming as to how they acquired these goods. So
now, you've got a great discussion coming up that's going to be happening in Canton, is that right?
Canton, November 1st, Seroptimus International is opening up our club meeting to the public. We're going to hold it at the Canton Public Library in the community room. And we're inviting Charlene Silva to be our guest speaker to really go deeper into this issue, allow us to ask our questions. And this is all part of educating ourselves, because that's where it starts. That's where, to me, prevention starts first, is in educating ourselves. And then, of course, then we've got to really educate our children on these dangers.
Now, for parents that are watching this, How do they start these questions? What are the areas? How do they start to broach their children and without scaring them off? What are some of the things they can just ask them to kind of get an idea?
This is a very intimidating subject, and I have two 13-year-old twin boys, Steve, and I felt an absolute need to bring this up to the family. And so we sat around and we talked about it, and I let them know about what they should be looking out for, that it is happening, that it could be happening to their friends, and they could be exposed to it. They might, so it's a difficult subject. Perhaps we'll discuss that more on November 1st.
Okay.
The meeting, by the way, is at 6 to 8 p.m., and it is open to the public. So
right.
I think these are the questions, and every family is going to have to address it. However, I think it's really important, Steve, is that we don't judge these victims, that these children that are trapped in this situation, this is happening to them. It is not their choosing. And so even our conversations with our children have to be non-judgmental and informational.
And it's happening right here in Connecticut. Thank you so much, ladies, for the incredible work
Thank you for the
that you're doing, and it really means a lot. So if you'd like, again, if you missed the information, just go to our website. We'll have all the information coming up on the screen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You are absolutely doing this wonderful.